Meeting to order? Okay. So Claire, would you like to lead the Pledge of Allegiance? Why not? Okay. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Super. Okay, so first item up on the agenda is the meeting minutes from the last time. Any comments, questions?
They look fine to me.
Okay, motion to approve? All in favor? Aye. Okay. One thing I do want to note, we were just talking about it, that those items that are consent agenda items, those items that are residential drawing reviews that Matt and James have approved offline, which we agreed to, we do want to list them on the agenda. And so what we'll do is they're missing this week, this month, and last month. So in the next month one, we'll catch it up. It will be a big bolus of items. But that way, at least it will be public knowledge as to which other residential properties have been approved.
Great.
Okay. So since I didn't bring my laptop because looks like it may rain outside and I walked here, Seth is going to help me out. So Seth, first item up.
You got it. So under new grading permits, do we have anyone from 24 Ivy Lane with us? All right.
Have you been here before?
I have not.
Oh, okay, great. If you don't mind just introducing yourself, and then just give us a brief overview of your project. And then what we're most interested in is the trees that you're removing, those that you're replacing them with, tree protection fencing, and your egress path. And we'll help you protect your existing trees that you would like to save.
First off, I'm Leslie Barr. I go by Tammy Ray, so you'll see both names on my all plans I signed. I am relatively new to what was Mominy Incorporated, now being known as Carrington Associates. I got 30 years experience in engineering and 20 of that in land development. So I've done quite a bit, and I'm here today to talk about 24 Ivy Lane as well as another project.
Okay, great.
If you could rotate your plan around, it's so that it's facing you so you can read it. Yeah, there we go. Perfect, thank you.
And Ian, if you're here, can you put the plans on our projector so we can see them? Steve looks like he's pressing a few buttons over there, so maybe that will help us out. Okay. Okay, go right ahead.
Okay. So as far as trees that we're removing, there are none that we're planning to remove for part of the project. We have the trees along the back end of the lot, and they have installed street trees along the front, which is a concern because they could get damaged during construction. So there are no trees being removed that I'm aware of, nothing that shows on the plan, and being that the farm was more or less terraformed to start with, whatever was there has been gone. So the new construction takes access up the driveway in this area here, and that'll go between the two trees. Superficially, that shouldn't be much of a problem, but we do have a relatively large stormwater management bed, and there will be public utilities of watering, electric, and that kind of things that are stubbed out but need to be extended. So there is some concern along the back side of the sidewalk of how far that stub is versus where the tree roots might be of the recently planted street trees that should have waited for later construction. So we do need to address how to deal with those, and we can add notes about fertilizers and warranties and things and replacements for the future. But that's really the extent of the tree work that we're doing along the front. They will have supplemental landscaping plans that are going to add more to the site, but we are not aware of what they're doing as of yet for that.
Okay, and what is the actual project?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
This is 24 Ivy Lane, otherwise known as the Drossin Subdivision Lot 2-6.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? So at this point, how much of the construction has taken place?
Construction for this lot, as far as I know, they have not constructed anything for the lot itself. They were doing the street improvements in the past.
Right.
They've done some lot grading as part of the overall grading of the street area, but I'm not aware of anything starting for the building as of yet.
Because I'm on sheet 4, and understanding that the icon for a tree is just a circle and a dot, but the stormwater system as proposed seems to be squarely affecting the tree adjacent to the driveway.
I
And,
see that as well.
right, so that's dead smack up to the tree, like to the trunk of the tree. And then on the other side, page left, if you will, you have the system, and then the outfall for that system goes right through the other tree.
I see that as well.
So my concern is no amount of root pruning or fertilization is going to work there. So I'm just going to make this suggestion to the Shade Tree Commission. And honestly, even the driveway, right, since these trees are, like, you have, all three trees seem to me like they're going to be compromised. So maybe a good solution is, and I'm not saying I want to see trees taken out, but I don't think these are going to make it, that this lot has those three trees replanted, right? Because like, so the two trees, starting page left and working in, you're disturbing right up to the trunk of the tree,
Here, yes.
right? And then you go to the next one. The third one, to the right of the driveway, if, I know this doesn't represent the drip line, but it does represent the trunk, the X.
Correct.
So when they cut that tire cleaner in and that driveway, they're gonna be all over that tree. So my suggestion to the Shade Tree Commission is, let's assume that these trees will fail. And that you're, on this lot, you're gonna replace those street trees, which are part of the subdivision land development ordinance. I know you're planting other trees, landscaping plan for the future resident of that house, but the street trees that are required by land development aren't gonna make it. And my recommendation is, after the stormwater management system's in, which is at the very end, when the driveway's been cut and they got rid of the stone tire cleaner and they've paved it, you know the exact limits, that would be the time to put the three trees in, when all the disturbance is done.
Yeah, Steve, I agree with that, except there's one big problem with this development. Every house that's already built, they have the same trees in front. So there's 30 or 40 trees that run down Ivy Lane, and there's houses in different levels of being built, and there's some, and this is a vacant lot right now. It doesn't have any, it just has the stubs in it. But that whole, it's just, you're talking about one property, but seriously, the township should do something, because that whole thing's gonna go. And these trees are big. They're like sycamores. They almost look like sycamores, and they're that big around.
So the only other option we have is, so this project is not complete, and when it is complete, the public builders are gonna have to provide an 18-month warranty period for not just the trees, but for all this work. I mean, that's one way. So when they put that road in and paved it and got all the utilities in, they put their street trees in. I agree, probably too early, but they were trying to follow a sequence, because I think at the time they didn't know how quickly these were gonna sell, and they're selling quickly. There's a lot of construction on the street. So, understanding what you said, I don't know, we could deal with this on a micro level, this specific lot, and any other one that comes in, or we deal with it on the macro level when the development, when they finish it and come to us for closing, so to speak. We have that 18-month warranty period, and then we just see how if these trees survive. But as this is laid out, I don't think two of the three are gonna make it.
So you know, I would just, I mean, if I'm Polig and I know I'm gonna lose all these trees anyway, I'm gonna have to replace them, I just dig them all out. They're huge. They have huge root balls. So
Well, I would recommend, so if you look at the storm sewer system, the stormwater management system, number 2, that shows the exact location of the stormwater management system. It doesn't even show any overdig, and there's going to be overdig. So they're through that tree. To the left of that, again, a line on a piece of paper is the pipe.
Yeah.
The trench itself is going to be up against that trunk.
Yeah. So I think, Steve, I like your insights and recommendations. I think we can agree that all three of those trees likely will not make it. The one near the pipe, the one on the left of the driveway, the one on the right of the driveway. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like the trunk size is too large to transplant it at this point. You think it can be transplanted? Okay, so that, James?
Yeah, Carol Kuroda or Big Tree, I think is the name, two companies. You can call.
Yeah, they can spade into it, pick the whole thing up, go to another hole that they've already opened up, set it there, pack it all down, treat it, keep it healthy throughout the form of construction, and then bring it back.
Right, but when is construction starting?
They've not given me a start date, but I know they're counting the days trying to get there.
So James, they can't start till they go through this commission and we approve the grading permit, and we can't approve the grading permit till they come through Shade Tree. So they're kind of on our dime.
I would think, at least.
Yeah, because you need at least 2 months probably to water it beforehand, and even the fall is probably not the best time, it's probably gonna die actually. So it'd have to be moved probably when it's dormant.
But they'll start the construction and it will probably
Start the construction
die, so they
beforehand,
can't wait that long.
That's gonna be the problem.
Yeah.
So you could try to move it, and then if it doesn't survive, then just,
What if we were to move the rock construction entrance to the front lawn between the trees in a wider gap to start? Get the house going, get the grading done, cut in the driveway, then start to use the driveway and abandon the rock construction entrance. That would minimize the impact on 2 of the trees.
Yeah, so I
But we
think,
still have the problem of the basin being where it's at.
right, so,
We could shove that back a little bit closer to the house, but we also typically have foundation to stormwater system setback issues, which I don't think we can get around in this site.
so if you go in between those trees, the stormwater management system is gonna be the last thing that goes in.
Correct.
Because we gotta wait till the lot is ready to get stabilized. So conceivably, that could be your entrance in and out for the majority of construction.
Correct.
Once the house is relatively completed, then you could pull that out, but it's still, no matter what, at one point in time, you're gonna excavate for that stormwater management system.
Correct.
Now, the only other thing is, obviously, it's like the Legos, right? You might be able to configure that a little differently so that it's not in that shape. So if you were able to make it a little narrower and longer, I mean, you'll have to run the numbers. But I don't know, there's a big issue to me with these 3 trees. And like I say, if the Shade Tree Commission just wants to wait, and when the 18-month warranty period is done, which will be like, whatever, 2 years from now, they're gonna have to go in and replace any tree that's in bad shape, or do you want to address it now? It's micro or macro, really?
I'd rather address it now.
Well, I am totally fine with adding a note to the plan immediately that would say that these trees are probably going to be impacted by construction and will need to be replaced replaced or somehow secured during construction. I don't think they can possibly secure it. I don't see a practical way to do that. So they'll have to replace them at that point. But I can put a note to the plan that tells them to do so.
Right. Because the only other option would be is if you transplant them now, or I guess this fall, to somewhere in the back, somewhere completely away from the construction.
Well, you know, the way this street looks is there's construction vehicles all over the street, up and down. I mean, some houses are more finished than others, but there's just all sorts of supplies and construction vehicles, and so every tree on that street's getting impacted by this project. And it just seems to me that it's sort of short-sighted to say, let's worry about this one property when we know it's one developer who has this problem, and this developer's gonna have a bigger problem. We all can concede that. So it just seems like it's better to recommend a macro, right?
I don't have a problem with that either, and I'm meeting with public management next week to talk about me coming on the team as part of the adoption lead for going forward. I can present all of that at a macro level to them and see what they give us any feedback, but
The other weird thing that it's not really fair to you is you're the first person, I haven't seen another Ivy Lane plan. And all this has happened with those trees in there, and so you're the first person that's come before us about Ivy Lane, so I don't,
we weren't here for lot 2-1.
really?
It was a Zoom meeting.
Ivy Lane's been here before in various, not every, I won't say every single one, but some of them have been before the Shade Tree Commission. So let me ask, if we go with the macro level, not part of your task, it's our task at the end, there is an 18-month warranty period, but, I mean, we can just assume that those 2 trees are gonna get destroyed when they dig.
I have no doubt.
right? So they're gonna be removing, I mean, they're not gonna survive, they're gonna be gone. So my thought is, I understand what Matt's saying, but the fact that they're gonna definitely basically rip them out of the ground, do we consider having them replant with like-sized trees once they're done?
And I'm just thinking through also, it's 3 trees. None of them are heritage trees. So really, you're coming before us because of a certain amount of soil that you're moving. I assume that's the trigger, really.
And there was no tree protection, that's why on that, on the plan, I don't think.
I didn't see any, Jay.
I see tree protection fencing, which is the blue here and here and here, but this is inadequate kind of tree protection. That's not how you protect the tree.
Yeah.
It's shown, but it's not shown correctly. No, not at all. You need to be outside the drip line and protecting the tree, and that's not what this plan is doing.
And the stormwater is running with it, like Steve said,
But I
I
think,
would say it
Now,
with the.
in that manner itself, I also think there might be a problem with the stormwater system, so as Mr. Nacini's indicated, I do need to try to reconfigure that bed. Same number of egg crates in a slightly different configuration, get some distance from the trees, but you don't want to oversaturate the roots either. And next to a stormwater basin, you're gonna do that. I'm sure they don't want it under the driveway, but I think it's gonna have to go under the driveway and get away from the street a bit more.
so the other thing I'm questioning is that it's 3 trees, so it falls underneath the ordinance trigger.
But Elaine, don't forget, this falls under Saldo, so they have to put, these trees have to be there at one point.
From a planning perspective?
From a subdivision land development ordinance, these 3 trees have to go back.
Yeah, right.
Or be there, or be replanted, or whatever.
Right, so saying that, I think this more so falls under planning, and it would become a macro issue, because from a micro issue, just this one property and 3 trees, I think we can give suggestions on how to preserve them, which I think you're already thinking about, but I don't think we have a requirement that says you would need to replace these. So I would address it as a macro issue from a planning perspective.
Could I ask that a note be placed on the plan that at one point in the development process, these 3 trees will have to be replaced? Because 2 of them will be gone when they're done, for sure.
Steve, do you know if this is coming before planning?
Well, this was approved years ago.
So that's sort of a straw man. because-
No,
Yes,
so
but no,
when this,
because you can't release the escrow until the township
Yeah.
says you comply.
so they have money in escrow with us for when this is done. It's not a straw man. So in the end, we're gonna go through this whole road and say, this is missing, that's missing. You're missing 12 street trees, or 12 street trees are dying, you have to replace them. So we have the monetary grasp, but based on our subdivision land development ordinance, these trees have to be there at the end of the job. They don't have to be there right now, but they do have to be there. And I will tell you, 2 will be gone once the grading permit's issued. So I just asked for a note on the plan. I'm not gonna forget, but just so everybody else doesn't.
I will definitely add the plan, the note to the plan.
Yeah. So any questions or comments from anyone else?
I mean, I would just say, with your meeting with Polig next week, advocate for trying to save these, just knowing that, you know, from what we're seeing, that there's going to be a high chance of,
My job to be their advocate in trying the best interest on all aspects.
That
of the
would be
project,
great.
so I will do so.
yeah. And they know that they have a street tree requirement, so they don't necessarily need to be hounded about that. But if they want to save the consistency and the size of the trees, they got to do something about it sooner than later.
Even if they take one of the empty lots and plant all trees in there, that way they can grow to the same size.
Sure, right,
Yeah.
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 What about moving everything back?
The stormwater wise,
House doing what, yeah, they haven't started yet.
the grading is really difficult around that window well inside, pointing over here. So the elevations of it is, this being an escape area for the basement area, trying to get water to flow from here out to the street becomes very difficult. I could probably throw another inlet or something in there, that would alleviate that, and maybe the house would slide down. But they dictated where they wanted to put that house. So I just went with that because they dictated
The other, I'm sorry to be a naysayer too, but the other thing is, there is a house line, like, there's roughly a line where these houses are all at the same distance from the street, so you can't go too crazy having one 15 feet back. They're all roughly the same distance away.
Okay.
Are we giving up on the idea, or are we not able to recommend transplanting as opposed to just wait and see with the 18-month warranty? Or,
I believe the way my note should be reading is to transplant or otherwise preserve the tree, knowing that the tree must be there according to saldo, and the tree may need to be replaced. I think if they elaborate the note in that fashion, it can try to help everyone cover the bases.
Sounds good, thanks.
Claire? Okay. So if I were to summarize, I would say we want to handle this on a macro issue from a planning perspective. And that if the trees, and that our understanding is that if the construction causes the trees to fail, that they will need to be replaced. And of course, there are many options to do so. You could transplant them now. You could change the construction entrance to try and minimize the risk to the trees and hope that they are preserved. And you've agreed that you'll talk to Pollock as a heads up of the whole overall macro issue. Yeah, because this would apply to many lots.
I'll do so.
Okay, all in motion to approve? All in favor to approve, sorry. Aye? Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot, Tammy. You said you have one other property?
I do. I'm representing 683 Mill also.
Okay, super.
You want me to continue?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
There was a little bit of confusion on the initial plan set that we submitted where we had 0 tree removal. And apparently a layer was turned off, and that caused the problem where we have a tree that we had has to come out, and that tree would then be replaced in accordance with the ordinance. Since then, we have had John B. Ward and Company come out to the site, and he has recommended the removal of this 29-inch maple tree here, as the tree is not overly healthy and is in imminent danger of falling down. He's also concluded that the 38-inch ash tree right behind it is also a danger, and it has been impacted by the emerald ash borer infestation. So he's recommending that tree come down as well. For the first tree, the 29-inch, on our proposed feature plan, we are adding 3 trees, and I'm trying to correct the line type weights and things of the plan set because you can't tell so much what's existing and proposed. So I'll point them out directly here. We are looking to put in a tree over here, another in here, and the third one is DE, this is a SCS, and another CE. So that would be the Zocova and the Carolina Silverbell trees that we're proposing off the approved tree list.
Okay, so with regards to the ordinance, the 29-inch wouldn't trigger a replacement because it's just under the heritage tree size of 30 inches. And the ash tree, because of the emerald ash borer situation, that one can be removed without being replaced, even though it's 38 inches. But I must admit, we love the fact that you're planting 3 trees.
Well, the owners actually plan to plant a lot more than that. They said, give me the minimum for now, I'll have my landscape architect. Because what they want to do is create basically a barrier wall between the properties of vegetation. That way you have privacy, but you also have greenery, and you help the environment a little bit just by being kind to the earth local to yourself.
Yeah, that sounds great. So any comments on the tree types that are picked out? The 2 Zelkovas and the silver maple?
Carolina Silverbell.
Silverbell, sorry. Looking at my friend Matt and James.
As long as you take care of the Zelkovas, as long as they're pruned, you're fine.
I'm not a big fan of them, but I mean, some trees, they recommend a tree list.
Well, I can talk to the landscape architect and see what they want to change it out to.
Yeah, who's the landscape architect?
I don't know as of yet, but I will be finding out tomorrow when I talk to the Johnsons.
I'm sure it'll point in the right direction.
They seem to be wanting to do everything the right way, and they're willing to call the people. And I'll just like with the trees, I'm saying, you can't be taking down a tree without talking to the Shade Tree Commission and getting a permit. Say, well, this tree's going to fall down. And we had this guy come out and take a look at it. Say, all right, well, I need a letter. You can't just take it down a tree, you're not allowed. So they went and they got Hugh to come out from John B. Ward, and he's prepared this letter, which I have copies of if you wish to have that today.
Looks good.
Okay.
For me,
Yeah, as long as, get it to Trish in the township so that we
Yes.
have it on file.
Absolutely, I'll make a formal submission to that.
Sounds good. And then, could you point out, so this is just a pool, right? There's no
So
other
what they have
structure?
here- Yeah, I'll explain. They have an existing driveway that comes up to the existing house. And what they're looking to do is put a pool in the backyard with a pool house, a little cooking area and a storage component to the building, and a pergola on the opposite side. Because of the grading issues, they're dropping in a retaining wall on the back side of the pool. And they're going to use a turned-down concrete slab around the pool house to make sure that they can break the grade and keep that under a reasonable level so you're not just falling off a cliff. So they'll be taking access off the driveway. We have street sweeping as well as using the pavement to try to break down the tires, any kind of debris. If they cannot do that, then they have to install a rock construction entrance in the driveway and then replace the driveway, which they were trying to avoid. And as long as they're diligent back in here and washing the tires and such, I don't really see much of an issue, but if it becomes an issue, they have to switch out.
Okay. And are there, for me, it's kind of hard to tell. I'm interested in tree protection fencing for
There is
trees.
protection fencing.
Yeah, okay, that's great. If you can just
Yeah,
show us that.
protection fencing around the trees in the back of here,
Mm-hmm.
around this tree here, and then we have around what is it, Leland cypress in the back corner here.
Mm-hmm.
And then we start to do more linear runs of tree protection fencing, trying to protect these trees.
Mhm.
And in the middle of the yard, we do tree protection rings around the edges.
Mhm.
And that will have to be approved by the arborist, because the symbols aren't
Mhm.
really the right size of the tree.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Any questions? Okay. Motion to approve? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being an advocate for us and the trees. Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, tree removal without approval. So we have 506 Chamont Drive. Do we have anyone from that address? Looks like we do.
Hi,
Great,
I'm
welcome.
Carolina Peña. I'm actually the owner's architect, and he asked me to create a site plan that shows exactly what happened. He did not know that he needed a permit to remove the tree.
Could I ask you to please speak into the microphone?
Sure.
Thank you. You can, that swings over to you if you want, it moves.
Great. So, what he's proposing to do, he did remove some trees. And then his plan is to remove about 27 trees and then replant a lot of them. Most of the trees, or I will say all of the trees that he plans to remove from their property are in really bad shape and falling apart. So his idea is to create a fence of vegetation on this side and then complete that line along here of trees and then plant another line of trees on this side in the rear of the property.
If I could, for the Shade Tree Commission, we had to go and shut this project down because and this has nothing to do with the architect. The homeowner had removed 13 trees without a permit, right? So we stopped all work. Again, he had said, I did not realize I needed a permit. We were going to take action, but we thought it should come here first. So 13 trees removed. They were all in the 7, 8, 9-inch diameter amount, but they were just gone, and there were stumps when John and Ricky got there. So we could fine him for that work, right? You have that ability to recommend a penalty in that respect. But for all the trees he wants to take down, there are a lot of compensatory trees that have to be replanted. At a minimum, not including the 13 he took down without a permit. And as far as the condition of the trees, if they're in that shape, we should have a hazardous tree report on the remaining 14 trees that have to come down, or however many trees are coming down.
Agreed. Yeah. So do you have a tree table that shows us the 27 trees where half of them have been removed and the other half are coming out, what the tree type is and the size?
Yes, so I have it on this table here. The species of the trees that will have to be removed, I do not know that information. I can probably submit another plan that shows that. But what he's proposing is 4 red maples.
And I guess before you go to the proposal, because the first thing we need to know is what's coming out, and then we can calculate what has to go in, and then we're interested in what's going in. So does it have there the sizes and the quantities?
Yes, so we have 25 that are 6 inches to 18 inches, and 2 that are between 19 to 29 inches.
Okay. Okay. And then do you have a tree table that shows what's going in?
Yes, so we have 81 emerald greens and 4 red maples.
So, Eileen, one of the interesting things, or a couple interesting things about this is we don't know what types of trees were removed. We do know that there are a bunch of elms listed as not to be removed. I mean, a bunch of ashes listed as not to be removed. They're incredibly healthy. So if the owners aren't treating those ashes, you need to tell them to start, because the neighbors are losing all their ashes. But the ash trees on this property are great, so they must be treating them. But Steve, do you know what was taken out? Could you tell?
No, so John went there and Ricky went there. It was too late. So, and unfortunately, so the resident sends his architect, and that's great, but this is not her bailiwick, nor is she aware that he violated the ordinance earlier. So my recommendation to this commission is, we should see a plan noting what was removed previously, what's proposed to be removed. The tree table, the chairwoman always brings up, we need to see the tree table, and then we need to see the compensatory trees and see if you wish to recommend a fine. We have, you have me, under the shade tree ordinance, you can recommend to me to issue a fine, but I think this is somewhat disingenuous. These trees aren't even labeled with a species or genus. 11-inch tree, 15-inch tree, I don't know what kind of trees these are. I don't see a replanting plan. I don't see any mea culpa whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is the emerald greens are not, they're not what I would pick. They're prone to snow split, they're prone to bagworms, and deer love them. Deer will go for them. They're not going to go for the green giant, so I don't understand why they're going for the emerald greens. So that's another thing. So it's like, it just seems like a lot of stuff's not on this plan that needs to be on this plan.
Sure, I think, I feel like this might be a little bit over my head, and we need to get someone that is an expert in this.
Sure.
Because
Because you're not the landscape architect, you're the
Correct.
architect.
Yes.
Okay? Yeah. No, that's fair. Any other questions?
Yeah, it says, sorry.
Go
Is
ahead.
that you? Tony's Tree Service is taking it down, so I'm not sure if he's a certified arborist as well. So they need to have a certified arborist on contracted or on staff, I believe, to be doing the work and to do the hazardous tree reports.
Okay.
So you might want to mention that as well. And that would probably be the good person to have at the next meeting.
Sure. Okay.
Right, and I would also recommend a bit more diversification than just 81 arborvitae and a few maples. See if we can get a little more creative there.
And that's from a biodiversity standpoint, that if there is a disease, you would lose all the trees. So, okay. So I would say, put forth a motion to reject this plan, just simply because more information is needed with regards to a tree table, what's coming out, tree table regarding what's going in, and then you have the comments regarding increasing the biodiversity and better tree selection that would still give you that evergreen look,
Sure.
but would probably be more durable. Okay. Motion to approve? With that, with those comments, motion to decline, I guess I should say reject. In favor? Aye. Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, if the property owner wants to call me, I can go through that with him. too,
Okay.
or both of you, however you want to work, or his other design professional.
Yeah, because the other thing is the township can give you a list of all the licensed tree removal companies that will have an arborist on it, like
Oh,
James
that would be great.
mentions, but
Yeah.
they are required to use a licensed tree company.
That was the other violation, ma'am.
Okay, great, thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda, violation notices. Nothing is listed here. Steve, nothing has squeaked in, all right?
That was the only one, Mr. Reeser, was what we just saw.
Got it,
Okay,
thank
great.
you. Number 7, old business. Do we have any old business?
No, if there's nothing listed on the agenda, then no.
Very good. Next item, new business, the ordinance update.
Yeah, so the ordinance update, I think what's great is someone from the Conservancy, Gretchen Goebel, and somebody from at least one of the neighborhoods, Paul Vernisi, have volunteered to collect feedback so that we can take that into account, kind of like a voice of the community. So I think that's super. So I'll reach out to them and find out how they're doing, what timing that they expect to share that. And then also, I wanted to propose, if we can do this in accordance with the sunshine laws, can we put together a smaller subcommittee that could meet offline, not make decisions, but literally just make recommendations as to how the ordinance should be changed. We have the Excel spreadsheet that at least lists out where it is today and the conversations we've had so far. But I think it will move slowly if we have to do it, all of it through the meetings, just once a month.
So just let us know, we'll find you a date, and we'll advertise,
Oh, okay. Oh, that's,
So-
okay.
right? We work through the man behind the curtain, Ian.
Yep,
He tells us when there's a free date,
okay.
and we'll pass those dates on to Shade Tree Commission. You pick which one you want, then Trish will advertise that, and you're all good to go.
Okay, that's great. So maybe we could even have 3 people from this group, and then I could invite Gretchen and Paul.
I have a question about the feedback.
Yeah.
Where is that, what avenues are they going to use for feedback? Residents or?
Paul would use residents, I assume. Gretchen, I assume, will pull on the Conservancy.
Okay.
And she may ask residents as well.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. But, I mean, for anybody listening, if anyone else wants to spearhead getting feedback from their neighborhood, we would absolutely welcome that. That would be super. So, and then I think, for us, we can obviously reach out to the Chanticleer because they always give donations and they may have some recommendations how to take this up a notch. And then if there's any other suggestions for feedback. Could even be some of the tree companies who, do this for a living.
And then in the end, so you're going to give what you want to see in the ordinance. We're going to give that to the solicitor. He will legalese it. It's going to come back to you. And then when you're happy with it, it'll go to the commissioners. And then there's 2 chances there, at least, that residents, it'll be introduced, right? No vote taken, introduced, and anybody can come to that meeting and provide input. And then the second meeting, when it's up for adoption, the same thing, people can come. So there's a lot of bites at the apple ahead.
Yeah, and then there's one other one, because I would propose this subcommittee goes off, they work on it, they come back basically with like a term sheet, an update to that Excel sheet that we have, and it would come before this whole committee to say, okay, this is what we're now proposing, is everybody aligned? We could go by majority vote, and then from there, it would go to the steps that you just mentioned, Steve. So there'd be at least 3 meetings along with the subcommittee meeting, 4 chances for anybody in the
Yeah, and as
Public
many
to get
meetings as you
input.
want here. I mean, it's up to the Shade Tree Commission, how quickly or slowly they want to move.
I think it would be, we did put it on the goals, it would be good if we could get it done this year. Okay, so, I can ask now if there's any volunteers, if folks want to think about it, they can email me after the meeting. Okay, great, Ginny, thank you. Okay, super.
Yeah, and we're having a couple dead trees removed upcoming, so I can kind of poll the audience of tree services.
Oh, perfect. Okay, super. Okay, so Seth, Ginny, and I will take this on. Yep, and then we'll come back to you all. Okay, super. Next on the agenda, Seth, what do you have?
Sure. And just quick update on new business. I know last meeting I wasn't able to attend, but as far as communication is concerned, I am working on basically nice social media worthy snippets from our master flyer to give to Molly.
Yeah.
With the new one, it kind of interrupted the timeline of that a little bit, but
Yeah.
it's on the agenda.
Okay.
All right, beyond that, hazardous trees, so it looks like there were quite a few. Steve, were there any noteworthy ones that you would like to make comment on?
No, sir.
Sounds good. Next item, trees removed by Radnor Township, so it looks like a 50-inch poplar in Ordinance Park. Any commentary on that one?
Had to go.
Had to go, Matt?
It had to go.
It was hazardous?
Otherwise, the order is looking pretty good, Ricky.
Good. All right.
I do have two things to update the commission on.
Yes.
So I think you're all aware Monday night, it was a long night. The Board of Commissioners voted we're not going to move forward on Fenimore Woods Park. It's going back to Park Board, and it will be taken from there. Also, Frank Paris met with the Philadelphia, and Frank's not here, so I'll update you. He was good enough to meet with the Philadelphia Horticultural Society. They walked the roads where PICO is going to be doing their tree removal as far as their reliability upgrades, and he's working with them. He sent me an email. I'm just catching back up on a few as to what's going on, but the goal would be to where there is a property that a tree had to be removed, that, through PICO, Philadelphia Horticultural Society, we can get some type of new tree in its place, albeit maybe a bare root, but we can get stuff. So Frank's working very hard on that, and it's much appreciated.
Oh, that
Yeah,
would be super.
that's great. All right, thank you for that update. Item 11, public participation.
Welcome.
I need to take this off because I can't speak very loud.
Sure. And if you want to just tilt the mic towards you, that'll help.
Okay. I was confused about the first item on your, a little further. Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Cheryl Tamola. I live on Midland Avenue. I was confused by the first, it's been a while since I've been in the shade, I was on the Shade Tree Commission a long time ago.
Oh, great.
So at any rate, the first issue of the trees at the Ardrossan site was confusing to me, and I need clarification. If those trees were there first, then someone was going to build something, wouldn't you think that you would build, that's just me, with that tree being there in mind? Shouldn't we somehow or another expect that of developers?
Well, Cheryl, what happened was they put the trees in. The project development team decided to put the trees in before they built the houses.
Okay, so
So-
those trees are not mature?
They're nice size, but they're not. They're bricky, like, no, they're like 3 inches, right?
Oh,
I didn't see them.
I'm
No,
just taking a guess.
they're like three, and so Cheryl, to your point, so under the subdivision land development code, that developer was required to plant X amount of street trees.
right.
So the road was put in, utilities were stubbed, curbs all in, and they decided to do that. We hold money to make sure that this is all done. So I can't tell them, no, you can't do this, right? They have the right to do it. The penalty will be when they come to us and I have Hospac go through there and he says, this tree suffered, this tree's got to be replaced, this tree's, and if they don't, but I mean, Poland's a reputable builder, they will. But if they don't, the township holds money in escrow where the manager would say, Norsini, get those trees replaced
Right.
and use that money. So, yes, maybe they should have waited. I don't have the ability to stop them from doing it,
One would think,
understanding that they're going to be on the hook for them.
yes. Yeah.
You're correct.
Right. So, thank you for this clarification. That's what I needed, because it seems to me that that is often the way things happen, where someone makes a plan as if it's a flat piece of paper, and things don't exist there ahead of time. And so I'm very glad that this was a mistake on their part
Yeah.
and not ours. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. We don't have any public participation through
No.
Zoom or anything that we have to worry about?
No, no. I'll just add, my comment is, Ricky, I just want to thank you. As I drive around the township and I look at our big investment, of all the trees that we planted over the fall, they look great. So I know you must be watering them because they wouldn't look that way otherwise. So thank you, thank you.
You're quite welcome, quite welcome.
I would say,
Go ahead,
do you
James.
guys have a list for the residents that got trees?
We do, James.
Is there any way you could shoot out an email to them to order?
Like a reminder and how to
Reminder,
water.
sure.
I did see a couple that we planted, not the township, but last fall,
Mhm.
that have died already,
Okay.
and they're not going to order.
Oh, because I was going to say, otherwise they would be under warranty and we could have them replaced. But if it's,
Yeah,
because they're literally not being,
This
okay,
is a terrible year for new plants.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we're going to have a lot more other people that order.
right. So Ginny, would you be able to do that or have the township do that?
I could do that,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think it'd be great also if you can send out the instructions of how to water, because I know that's such a popular question when they first go in, how often?
Yeah, we have that memo from John that basically outlines that.
Yep.
I could also say something in there about get ready for spring, and talk about how we're not doing the fall planting this year, but,
Perfect. Perfect.
yeah.
Great. Is that it then? Okay. Anything else before we close the meeting? Okay. Have a nice evening, everybody. Thank you.